Hey everybody, MarcusCWilliams here. So, let's talk about what's going on in this Albany right now. So, I'm running for 137th Assembly District this year, and right now the Assembly and the Senate are trying to take away your firearms rights and your Second Amendment. People are like, well, but Marcus, nobody needs a semi-automatic rifle. Okay. Because the semi-automatic rifles are the problem? Let's dig into this, right? Okay. So, right now they're trying to ban bulletproof vests. Okay. And this I've talked about before, not on here, but on my Facebook and on Twitter. So, for almost a year and a half, I've been talking about this bill, and I can't remember it off the top of my head right now. Excuse me. I'm unable to remember it off the top of my head right now. But it's been a bill that's been in there in committee about banning bulletproof vests and body armor. So it's already difficult to get in New York State, and it's not like it's sold at every corner store. But I've never seen anybody get on the TV and been like, today in the news, 3 people beaten to death by a bulletproof vest. Are you serious? Okay. It doesn't make any sense. Then I don't know if you guys saw today in New York City, this lady, she was stabbed. Like the guy just walked up to her. She was walking into the store. Old lady. Well, she wasn't old, middle-aged, close to being old, older. Okay, she's walking into the store. Guy slides up behind her, and he's like, stab, walk away. What? Let me say that again. Little old lady walking into the store. This guy slides up on her. Swoop, stab, walk away. Are you serious right now? Like, I'm laughing to keep from crying. Like, this is insane. Like, after seeing that, I'm like, shoot. They need to sell body armor at every corner store and everywhere. Because if you just stabbing people, stab, and walking away, like, that doesn't even, like, that's not, what? Well, let's get back to the firearms portion of this. Just know that anti-bulletproof vest law legislation is not for you. It's for them, okay? We'll talk about that later. I'm not going to dive in that deep on that right yet. So, then you got the gun legislation. Let's raise the age to 21, which some people support, some people don't. I just don't like them fiddling with our rights and stuff like that, especially when these are the same people saying that 16-year-olds should be able to vote. I feel like 16-year-olds being able to vote is way more serious than an 18-year-old owning a gun. I really do. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you want to give them the right to vote, but you don't want them to be able to smoke, drink, or have a firearm? Something seems wrong here, right? Then you want to also, these are the same people that tell you, oh, your kids should be able to change their gender, and they should be able to say that if they're a boy, they're a girl, or if they're a girl, they're a boy, when they're 5 or 6 years old, and when they're 10 or 11, they should cut off their boobies or their penis. Are you serious? These are the people that are passing these gun laws that are like, oh, we should raise the age to 21. But you want 10-year-olds to cut off their breasts and penises? You want to allow them that ability? You want 16-year-olds to be able to vote? You want to allow them that ability, but you don't think that it's okay for them to have this? Excuse you? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Like, is this for real? Is this bizarro world? What world are we living in? Like, I mean, if you're saying that they need to be 21 to do this, okay, not that I'm saying I'm for or against it, but why don't they need to be 21 to be able to change their gender or chop parts off of their body that will never regrow? A double mastectomy at the age of 10 or 13? Are you serious right now? Cutting off your penis? Are you serious right now? And you're going to tell me that they shouldn't have a gun till they're 21, but they should be able to do that. Sugar Cracker Krispies. It sounds like, well, maybe you're going in the wrong direction with this thing. And I think I'm being very generous. So that's not it. There's more to it. And they're trying to make you register all of the bullets. Excuse me. They want to put micro printing on all the bullets so that they can trace that. But really, that's not it, because that's going to add an additional tax on the bullets, okay, of 5 to 15 cents per round. 5 to 15 cents per round doesn't sound a lot until you realize that most of these pieces of ammunition are sold in sets, okay? Sets that are usually like 30, 50, 100, 150, like that. That's a lot of extra per round. And if you ever go to the range, which we can't have a shooting range in the city of Rochester, which is something that needs to change because they don't want black people to own firearms or know how to use them. That's a whole nother problem that we got to talk about. The fact that they don't want black people to own firearms legally. Make it make sense when black firearm ownership is the lowest out of any demographic in the whole nation. But I digress. Let me continue. So these people that are our elected officials are out here saying that we shouldn't have firearms. But these are the same people that defunded the police. The same people that defunded the police, so you have nobody to protect you, are now telling you that they don't want you to be able to protect yourself. Now, you make that make sense to me. Now, two of the fastest growing demographics are Democratic females for firearm ownership. Second fastest growing demographic of firearm ownership is blacks. And they don't want you to have firearms. Why? The guy that shot up the Buffalo supermarket, the Tops, he said that he was going there because he knew that none of them would be armed. Are you serious right now? He said in his manifesto that he knew that none of them would be armed. So he figured he'd go get some easy kill targets. And you're going to tell me that black people shouldn't own firearms? That, we're not just talking about black people, we're talking about everybody. Really? But you didn't start cracking down on it until blacks started getting more firearms, which doesn't even go back to the history of firearms legislation, which really started after the Civil War, after the Reconstruction, to prevent blacks from firearm ownership, which started off before pre-Jim Crow. Okay? Can we talk serious right now? Can we? Can we have this discussion? No. Because whenever we want to have this discussion, people want to talk about, oh, that's not it. This isn't it. We know what's best for you. You know what's best for us. Do you? If you knew what was best for us, why would you defund the police? Why would you allow riots to burn down my neighborhood? Okay? Why would you allow all of the stores to be vandalized and pillaged in my neighborhood, in my community? Why? Why would you continue to let violent criminals back out on the street? Okay? Why are you letting them out with bail reform? Getting them, getting them appearance tickets. They've got 5, 6, 7 violent offenses on their record that are pending trial, and you're letting them out with no bail, just on an appearance ticket? Here you go. Oh, you beat up an old lady? Here you go. Oh, you robbed a mini mart? Here you go. Oh, you committed, you got an illegal firearm? Here you go. Oh, you got, man, listen. Man, don't even get me started, right? So these people, our elected officials, okay? When they go into session and stuff like that, do they have security guards? Yes, they have security guards. Are these security guards armed? Oh, yes, these security guards are armed. Oh, so they've got armed security, but they defunded our police. Didn't give the police the money back, and they don't want you to have firearms to protect yourself, but they're protected by people with guns. I don't know, right? Make it make sense. Okay, so let's talk about the lady in Virginia that stopped a shooting where this guy came and West Virginia, where this guy came and he was about to shoot up this event, and this lady pulled out her gun, which she was legally able to own, and she shot him dead. Okay? She shot him, stopped the whole bunch of people being killed by a mass murderer. Okay? But do you see that in the news? Absolutely not. Go look it up. It's true. Happened in West Virginia. Today is what? The 3rd? The 2nd? Happened a couple days ago. Okay? Right in Virginia. This guy, he was acting all crazy, driving up and down the street crazy when they were having an event outside. Some people pulled him over, told him, said, listen, man, we got kids out here. Can you slow down? You keep driving back and forth all crazy. And then he got mad, went home, got a gun, come back to shoot everybody up. And when he started shooting, this lady dropped him like a bad habit. Bang. Okay? But you don't hear about the good guys with guns. Okay? Do you know that every year there are more people who are saved by guns than there are that are killed by guns? Oh, does anybody want to have that conversation? And this is outside of suicides. I do not count suicides as being killed by guns. That's a whole nother conversation. If you are feeling lost or like nobody listens to you or nobody cares on a serious tip, there are suicide prevention lines. Okay, there are veterans outreach people. I'm not familiar with the numbers off the top of my head, but if you do have an issue, please reach out. I'll try to see if I can get those numbers for you. That's a horrible thing if you feel like you're alone and you need somebody and you don't have anybody. And because of that, you want to, end it. But, yeah, I want to encourage you guys that none of you are alone. Okay, that there are other people out there that are willing to stand up and push back against the concocted narratives of fallacies that are being put up out there, that we do see the craziness that's going on in the world, that you are not alone. That even though it might seem like you're alone, that you're not, and there are other people out there that feel the same way that you do. You just haven't been able to connect with them yet. But anyway, I digress. So back to what I was talking about. So they want to take your guns, but they're defended by people with guns. And most of these same people live in very affluent neighborhoods. What's affluent mean? It means rich sedity neighborhoods. That's what it means. They live in these neighborhoods where they feel all safe and protected, where the police come at a drop of a hat, at the press of a button. But in my neighborhood, we have to wait 10, 15 minutes for 911 to pick up the daggone phone. You make it make sense. And these are the people who don't want you to be able to arm yourself or want to make it more difficult for you to arm yourself. Are we serious right now? Is that what we want? Is it? Ask yourself. If they're not going to allow adequate policing to protect you, and they're not going to put in the legislation to lock criminals up to deter criminal acts, shouldn't you be the one to defend yourself? And why don't they want you to defend yourself? That's a head scratcher. I got some things to say about it, but this isn't the video for that. Just think about it. They're defunding the police, then they take your firearms away, right? So who has the firearms left? The police don't got them. You don't got them. The criminals got them. Who else got them? The federal government? What you gonna do? Send the federal government? Create a federal police agency to come in and do the stuff that we need done because we don't have enough actual police? I mean, that doesn't sound like the worst, most terrible idea that anybody could have planned out to begin with. Anyway, I'm just saying that this whole thing that we've got going on is a bit crazy. It's a bit crazy, and it's government overreach. It's as simple as that. It's government overreach, and if you don't see what's wrong, I want you to take a good look at Canada. I want you to take a good look at New Zealand. The first thing that Canada did was they were like, oh, you know, just register your firearms. It'll be okay. So they registered their rifles and stuff like that. And then Canada's like, oh, well, you know, you don't need rifles because, well, you don't need rifles because we're the government and we say so. Okay? Excuse my poor Canadian accent, but you know, it's now gotten to that where just a couple of days ago, the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has said, well, you know, and this is how he talks. He talks in a sexy, dreamy tone voice. Well, you know, you don't need firearms. We're going to put a freeze on all handguns, and we're going to make it because nobody needs a gun, and we want to prevent all the shootings. Word, Justin Trudeau? You're the same guy that was freezing people's bank accounts across the country when they donated $5 to the truckers who were protesting peacefully. And not only that, you were locking up the truckers, freezing their bank accounts. You were killing their pets. Listen, I need you guys right now, if you're a liberal and you're listening to this, Justin Trudeau was up there killing those people's pets, okay? Because they wanted to fight for their freedoms, okay? Peacefully. They were up there for months in Ottawa protesting peacefully. They're still protesting. Yes, they're still. Did you know? No, of course you didn't know because they don't want you to know. Okay? Now that's just Canada, our neighbor to the north, and it's not like, well, they would do anything bad except torture, lock up, and freeze the accounts, thereby starving the children and family members of the people who were protesting peacefully. I mean, just because we see it happen in Canada, why would you think it would happen here? Okay, right? Just Canada? No. New Zealand, right? So New Zealand starts with an assault weapon ban, which wasn't an assault weapon ban, right? It was actually just a rifle ban, okay? Because there is no such thing as an assault weapon, which is a whole nother conversation. We'll leave that for a different video. But New Zealand takes away people's rifles. That was after mosque shooting incident, which is a whole nother separate conversation. We're not going to talk about it. But so after that incident, they're like, oh, okay, even though we don't have hardly any crime, they have hardly no crime. But because we had one instance of a shooting, we're going to take everybody's guns and it's good for you. And then they had one of the harshest, most severe lockdowns where they were snatching people out of their homes during COVID. Yeah. Because that's how governments, when you're unarmed, roll. Look at foreign countries, okay, that people consider to be rogue states or failed regimes or whatever you want to call them, totalitarian places or fascist places. They don't have any firearms there. The governments just do what they want with the people willy-nilly. And people are supposed to be okay with these things. This is America. We have the Second Amendment because our founders knew that the government acts to F up. Because that's what they do. Once you start getting power, the more power you get, the more power you're going to want to keep. And at that point, it's not even whether somebody's bad or good. It's just the amount of power begets more power, and they're going to continue to want more power. And we've created a machine, a giant bureaucracy, that wants to keep creating itself more and more power because now this is the way the machine has been programmed to do. That's what it is. It's that simple. It's gone away from being simply right and wrong, good and bad. It's gone to this is the next most logical, most reasonable step and the next natural progression because of what has been created in our society. Our bureaucracy and our elected officials don't want to give up power. Why do you think that they've been in there 20, 30, 40, 50 years in different positions? We need term limits. You're daggone right we need term limits because of stuff like this. It's not okay. But I mean, people don't want to talk about that type of stuff, right? It's controversial. It's not controversial. It should be common sense, you would think, but apparently common sense isn't that common. It's really concerning the way that we're going, but I'm going to tell you this. Destroying the Second Amendment is only going to make sure that they get rid of the First Amendment fully, which they've already been doing. They've limited your ability to redress your government because they've changed the times in which you can actually speak to your government. They've put it on Zoom so many times you either can't get in or you not able to speak, okay? That's why they're on Zooms and stuff like that, because they don't want you to be able to find them. They don't want you to come down and actually talk or speak up. They will make it as difficult as possible. Then when you say something that they don't like, they're going to try to shut you down. Just like we've seen on social media. Just like we've seen in the actual media. Just like we've seen in Canada. Just like we've seen in so many other countries that are fascist, totalitarian, and repressive governments. But here in America, we've got a Bill of Rights to push back against that. It's the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, as well as the 10th Amendment. That's called our Bill of Rights in America. That's what it's called. We have it for a reason. To protect ourselves from the government acting to F up. And what's the government doing? Acting to F up. So it's no wonder that they're working on trying to peel them back slowly and slowly, like the First Amendment. So we talked about them trying to mess with your right to redress your government and with your grievances. They're also trying to take away free speech, which is also in the First Amendment. We've seen them doing it all on media, social media. You say something they don't like, they try to deplatform you, get you out of there. They'll suspend you, they'll shadow ban you, do whatever they can, because they don't want your voice to be heard. We're actually witnessing one of those issues right now in my city with this tour that they're doing. It's called the Reawaken America Tour. It's like a Christian revival, but kind of political also. So they're trying to stop that from being here because they're like, oh, it's about hate, it's about this, it's about that. It's not. Okay? It's not at all, not even a little bit. But they want it to be canceled because it talks about different views than what our very powerful Monroe County Democratic Party wants. And so they don't want that. They don't want that. And they see it as a chance to raise their values and put down the values of other people. And because they're not the same, they don't want them to be able to do their stuff. But these are also the same people that were okay with them tearing up the stores and the businesses in our community and defunding the police. We're not going to talk about it, right? So they're trying to stomp all over the Second Amendment as well. Your freedom of speech, which is in the First Amendment as well. And they're trying to stomp on religious freedom also. Religious freedom is almost gone. We saw them shut down all the churches. We saw them force these different things on churches that have never been forced on them. Government overreach out the wazoo. Okay, we need smaller government, not bigger government with more laws. This is a problem right now. It's so cumbersome. The bureaucracy only works to self-perpetuate and make more of its own self. That's the problem that we really have. So if they're trying to get rid of freedom of speech, they're trying to get rid of freedom of religion, they don't want you to tell them that you don't like what they're doing. Of course they would get rid of your ability to own firearms because they'd be concerned that you would turn against the government and you would stand up and rise up. That's why they push so much division and hate out there. That's why right now they're trying to divide poor black people and poor white people and middle-class black people and middle-class white people, because they know that if we were able to see and unify together, that we could see that the values of the poor and the middle class of blacks was the same as the values of the poor and middle class whites, that we would be strong. And they don't want that. They want to keep us separated because if we come together, they know that we would have a chance to stand up against them And they are not able to have that. That's why they're trying to keep us at each other's throats. And they don't want to hear any talk of unity. And they don't want to hear any talk of coming together. So it's really problematic, as we can see. So there are more, the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment are all under attack, but we're not here to talk about this. We're only really talking about the Second Amendment. But the fact of the matter is if you're not able to defend yourself from the criminals out there in the world, you're not able to defend yourself from the government that has all of the weapons, what are you going to do to protect yourself, right? If they take away your ability to protect yourself and defend yourself, then they'll be in total and utter control. They already have people scared to go out there and speak up and stand up and say anything. So what else will they do? Who knows? But it won't be good. I guarantee you that. And if they get these chances to pass these things and to pass the body armor bill, it's bad for all of us. It's really, really bad for all of us. I'm going to need y'all to wake up. I'm going to need you guys to vote different. I'm going to need you guys to vote Roe B. And if you live where I live, in Rochester, I'm going to encourage you to vote MarcusCWilliams November 8th. That's right. Vote MarcusCWilliams November 8th. Because while everything's going crazy and sideways and they're trying to distract you at every turn, I'm not with that BS. Now, on the flip side of that, I do know that there's no way that, on the pragmatic side, I know that there's no way that we're going to be able to absolutely fix everything in a short period of time. I also know that you can only do so much in office, but you have my solemn swear and oath as an American citizen that I will do my duty to uphold our Constitution and to fight for your rights as well as I would fight for my rights. Okay? Everybody. And everybody's rights are important. We should not be infringing on anybody's rights. You guys, be blessed, be well. I'll catch up with you soon.